of course, a very big thank you to Alice, as always, for making these slides look so good for me. So thank you very much, Alice. So the topic for this evening's lesson, for lesson 4, is vocal modulation in public speaking. So welcome back to another exciting lesson. Last week, we explored the world of nonverbal communication through body language. I heard Miss Duck giving everybody some good revision questions about some of the topics we've been studying, and I heard your answers. Very, very good. So the objectives for this evening's lesson, number 1, we want to be able to understand vocal pitch, volume, and pacing. And number 2, we want to learn how to use emphasis and pauses effectively. And number 3, we've got a few silly vocal warm-up exercises that we're going to learn about and have a try of. So they're all serious exercises in the sense that they'll help you warm your voice up to speak. But some of them are a bit silly, like we're going to try a few tongue twisters. So, first of all, before we discuss the importance of changing your voice for impactful communication, first of all, we need to ask the question, what is vocal modulation? And vocal modulation refers to the intentional change of pitch, volume, and pacing, as well as other elements during speech. It adds depth and it can change the dynamics of communication, and it can make it more engaging for the audience and more impactful. So that's what vocal modulation is. And as we see down the bottom here, we've got pitch, volume, and pacing. So pitch refers to the highness or the lowness of your voice, and it's actually determined by the frequency of your vocal cords vibrations. So varying your pitch will allow you to express different emotions, and you can add nuance to your message. So an example of pitch would be, so usually if you raise your pitch at the end of a sentence, it sounds like a question. Whereas if you lower your pitch at the end of a sentence, it tends to sound more like a statement. So an example of that would be, pardon, Lily? So an example of that would be if I was to ask somebody, or if I was to say to somebody, I need to go to the shops to get something to eat. So I can either say that, like, I need to go to the shops to get something to eat. So you hear at the end of that, by dropping my pitch, it starts to sound a lot more like a statement. But if I was to say it the other way around and go, I need to go to the shops to get something to eat, do you hear how that sounds more like a question than a statement? So I need to go to the shops to get something to eat. So that higher pitch, it just kind of takes away the certainty of any statement that you make. However, it also can be used, much like we discussed with body language last week, it can also be used to convey a different emotion. So that's pitch. And number 2 is volume. So the volume of our voice is the same thing as the volume of the television or the volume of the radio when you listen to it. It refers to the loudness or the softness of your voice. It can be a powerful tool for emphasizing key points, creating contrast, and capturing your audience's attention. So have you ever uh, a good example of that is if your parents are trying to ask you to do something, and I know this happened to me thousands of times as a kid, but if your parents ever ask you to do something, they'll ask you nicely and politely the first time, and they'll just talk to you in like a normal volume level. And so they'll be talking to you and then you don't listen, you think it's a joke, and then all of a sudden they raise their voice and they yell and they go, "Hey, pay attention." And when they raise their voice and they yell, all of a sudden you snap out of it and go, "I'm listening." So volume. So whilst it doesn't always come during anger, it can be used in public speeches. It can be used to surprise people or shock people into paying attention, or usually just the fact that somebody has lowered their voice, so raised their voice, the volume of their voice, that just tends to make people listen to it. However, used in the right situations, on the opposite side of it, lowering your voice can make people want to kind of lean in and listen to what you're saying because they're afraid that they might miss something that you've said. So we can use volume to really emphasize certain points or draw attention to ourselves. And it's really interesting how you can do that. And finally, we have pacing. And pacing is the speed at which you speak. So adjusting pacing helps to maintain the audience's engagement by adding rhythm and variety. It also gives listeners a chance to process the information. So if I get really excited about something and all of a sudden I just want to talk really, really fast because I'm so excited and I can't believe it, oh my gosh. Or, excuse me, should have done my vocal warm-ups. So, or I can really slow down what I'm trying to say, and that can give you the opportunity to comprehend and take in what I've said. Whereas if I'm talking really fast, sometimes you don't get the chance to kind of take it in. It's just boom, 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 one to the next point, to the next point. So you see there by the contrast of speed, I can do things like show excitement, or I can show that I'm being serious, or I can give you the chance to really understand and take the information in that I've just given you. Okay. So the next question that we want to discuss, or the first question that we want to discuss, is vocal pitch. How do pitch changes create diversity in tone and expression? So how can changing the pitch of your voice give you make your voice sound different? So if anybody would like to submit an answer, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. So how do you think pitch can create changes, or how can it, sorry, create diversity in tone and expression? Does anybody think they know the answer? Diana, how do you think pitch change creates diversity in tone and expression?
I think that it is like when we raise our pitch, it can help the listener express our feeling about the speech, and maybe we can raise our voice to get the attention from the audience, or lower our voice to it is kind of a way to get the audience attention in what we are speaking.
Very good. Thank you, Diana. And Luna, how do you think pitch changes create diversity in tone and expression? What are you snacking on? Luna? What are you snacking on?
Durian.
So, how do you think pitch changes can create a diverse range of tones and expression in speech? Okay, moving on. Tom, how do you think pitch change can create a diversity of tone and expression?
I think it's actually all for all the reasons you said earlier. I don't have really. It's just like somehow when my mom is also true, and your mom just when the first time my mom asked, she asked nicely, but the second time, oh no, it isn't.
Yeah, I feel you with that one, Tom. I feel you with that one. Okay, we'll have one more answer and then we'll move on to our second question. Sarah, how do you think pitch changes can create diversity in tone and expression?
For me, pitch changes is like when you lower your voice, you could make it like seriously. And if you are having a higher voice, you could like, oh, I would love to use that. And you would show your feelings that you want to do that thing. And you're very excited and you are curious to do it. But you lower your voice and your feelings may be really sad or very serious about something. It maybe seem like you are serious with that thing. You're not joking with anyone there, and you're talking very politely and serious.
Very good, Sarah. So Sarah's just said that if we use a higher pitch voice, we can express emotions like excitement, or we can be funny with it a bit. But if our voices are a bit lower in pitch, it tends to be more serious or more sad. Very good, Sarah. Thank you. So I'll just finish that section with my answer. So changing pitch inflections in your voice, such as rising or falling tones, can convey emotions, questions, or enthusiasm. A rising pitch can indicate curiosity, while a falling pitch can denote it can even denote confidence or finality, like no more. This conversation is finished. Very good, guys. So our next question, and we'll just keep going with the people in line as they are. How do volume variations emphasize different points? So we're moving on from the pitch of the voice from like that. We're now moving on to the volume of your voice. So how can a loud voice or a quiet voice emphasize different points in your speech? Vinh Khang, how do you think?
What? Can you say again?
So how do you think volume variations, so talking loudly or talking quietly, how can we use those?
Variance, I think, is with a loud voice.
Pardon? Okay, we'll move on to our next person in line. Timur Thu Nguyen, how do you think volume variations can, oh, no, she's gone. Oh, no, there she is. How do you think volume variations emphasize different points?
Yes. About the volume dynamic.
Yeah,
Oh.
about volume. How can
Yeah,
volume
so
changes?
the volume
emphasize
variation could say like express your feeling too. Like, hey, are you listening? It means like someone is really angry or want the attention of other. Like, and they also want more people to hear their voices, like, and to listen to them. That is why there's like in public occasion, they always use a microphone. They
Very
say like
good.
normal, right?
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, Tom. How do you think volume variations can emphasize different points?
Yeah, it's kind of like when you were in the mood that you were in, like when you are sad or bored, you just say, and your voice sound like very deep, like, hello, what is it? And when you are first, and when you are singing into a party, you're like, hello everyone, and hello, what are you doing? Like,
Very good. So yeah, you can use your different volume levels in different situations. Very good. Okay, so I'll give you my answer. So altering your volume during speech can draw attention to specific words or phrases that you use. Speaking softly can create a more intimate atmosphere. So if you were talking with, say, 2 or 3 of your friends, and you were close together, you wouldn't just be yelling at them because it'd be very loud, just be very loud and hurt their ears. But if you were speaking to a big group of people, then yeah, even with a microphone, you might talk a bit louder to make sure that everybody can hear you. Very good, guys. And the final question, what is the role of pacing in maintaining audience engagement? So how does changing the pace of your speech, how does that keep the audience interested in what you're speaking about? Diana.
I think that this can be really important. It's just like I can, for example, when I just like speak like there's no like it is quite hard. I think that if I just speak in like a same volume and for example, I just speak in a high pitch or I just speak in a very low pitch, just like that. And it is like, teacher,
Yes.
can you explain for me the word pacing?
Yes, so pacing is, all right, so I'll give you guys my answer before I hear yours. So pacing influences the rhythm and the speed of your speech. So varying your pacing can keep the audience engaged and it can prevent monotony. So monotony is like a robot voice where there's no pitch change, no speed change, no volume change. you're already getting bored of listening to me talk like this because there's nothing to keep you interested. But if I start talking a little bit quicker at times and I can slow it down a bit, or I can use higher pitch, lower pitch, it can keep it more interesting for you. So
I see. So it is like you raise your voice or lower your voice, or you speak so fast or you speak so low, like that, right?
yeah, so sorry, my apologies on that one. Pacing is specifically the speed that you talk at. So if I need to emphasize important details, so if there's something I need you to remember, I might talk a bit slower so it's easier for you to remember. But if I get quite excited about something that I'm talking about, then I might talk a bit quicker because I'm just so excited about it.
I see.
So sorry. Yeah, so that's what pacing is. Sorry, it's how fast you talk.
Yeah, I see. So it is very important to get the audience attention, and also it's make the audience more excited when listening to we speak when we're speaking. And so we can make our speech more interested, and the audience will quite like our speech more than just like the robot speaking. As you say that there's no lower pitch, no high, but there's some speech that we can like we wanted to speak quicker, or we wanted to speak louder, or maybe we wanted to speak slower. And so but it can't be like when we speak just lower our voice in the end of the in the end of the statement, or raising our voice while we want to get the audience attention. So I think that is really important when like in maintaining the audience engagement.
Very good, because I'll be honest, I love the sound of my own voice. I love to hear myself talk. But even I was getting bored of listening to the monotonous voice. So could you imagine if a speaker, and I was the one speaking and I was getting bored of that. Could you imagine if a speaker was to give a 15 to 20-minute speech and their voice was just monotonous, no change in volume, no change in pitch, no change in pacing? It would just be the most boring speech you had ever heard. Okay, so we want to learn about emphasis now. So emphasis, and this is actually really interesting, but emphasis is where we exaggerate a specific word in a sentence, and it can completely, I'm not going to try and talk like a robot again. But yeah, so I can say the same sentence to you 6 times, and not once will it mean the same thing. And that's because of the emphasis that I put on the word, or that's because of the word that I exaggerate. So have a listen to this. And I hope you guys find this as interesting as I do. So the original sentence that I'm going to use for this example is, I'm going to type it out, put it in the chat box for everybody. So the example sentence is, I didn't say he stole my money. Now listen to it. I'm going to say it 6 different ways, and each way it's going to sound different, and it's actually going to mean something different. So number one, I didn't say he stole the money. So in that one, actually, quick, send it into the chat box. As I say this sentence, I want you to tell me which word you think I emphasized. So I'll do it again. I didn't say he stole the money. Very good, Diana and Quiana. Alice, good. It was the word didn't. And when you emphasize the word didn't in a sentence like that, I'm telling you that I did not make the statement about I didn't make a statement about someone stealing my money, but someone else might have. Someone else might have made that statement. Or I can say, I didn't say he stole my money. Which word did I emphasize on that one? Very good. Say. Very good, Alice. And Alice, the two Alices got that one. Quiana got that. Good. So if I was to emphasize the word say, I'm saying that I didn't speak the words that he stole my money, but I might have implied it in another way. I might have suggested it in a different way. So I didn't say he stole my money, but you know, I don't have any examples about another way that I might have told someone that, but perhaps with my body language or perhaps with a facial expression, I might have, you know, gave him a funny look. They might have said, oh, I think he stole it. Okay. So another one. I didn't say he stole my money. Which word did I emphasize on that one? Good. Stole. Very good. So what I'm saying there is that I didn't say that he stole my money. So even though this person has my money in their hands, I'm not saying that he stole it. I might have given it to him or I might have loaned him that money, but he didn't steal that money from me. Very good. Next one. I didn't say he stole my money. Very good. I emphasized the word my on that sentence. Very good. And so when I emphasize the word my, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that he stole the money that belongs to me, but the money that he stole belongs to somebody else. So we're still saying that he might have stolen the money, but we're just saying that it wasn't my money that he stole. It was someone else's. And finally, I didn't say he stole my money. Which word did I emphasize there? Very good, guys. He. I emphasized the word he. And what I'm saying is that somebody stole my money, but it wasn't him. It was somebody else. And the last sentence, the last time I'll emphasize a word in this sentence is, I didn't say he stole my money. Very good. Very good, guys. It's the word money. So what I'm saying there is, it's not my money that he stole, but he stole something else from me. So you see how by emphasizing a different word in the same sentence, you can completely change what you're saying with it. And this I just find absolutely fascinating. So that's something that you should study, is how to use emphasis properly, because even if you don't realize it, you can actually communicate things that you maybe don't mean to, or even that you don't mean based on where you put the emphasis in a sentence. Excuse me, got a hiccup. So the next topic I would like to talk about is the power of pauses. So let's discuss how pauses can add depth, drama, and comprehension or understanding to speech. Well, thank you, Diana. I'm glad you're finding this interesting. So I will momentarily pause this. I'm going to open up a Word document here. Pausing examples. So, so we've got a few sentences here. Hopefully you guys can still see my screen. And you can see that where we've placed the comma indicates the pause. So, Sarah, how would you suggest that we sit down and enjoy a meal with our grandmother, with our grandma? How would you say that?
The first is let's eat, then pause. Grandma, is there no pause of that? You may be eating your grandma because there's no pausing in that place.
Very good. So the pause indicates the separation between let's eat with our grandmother and let's eat our grandmother. So the first way would be let's eat, grandma. So there's that little pause there. But if I was suggesting let's all feast on my grandmother, I would say let's eat grandma. So see how that pause again completely changes the meaning of that sentence. Can't believe I'm having a conversation about eating my grandmother. Oh no. You're so right, Min. The no pause feels so wrong in a sentence like that. Okay. Alice.
Yes.
Sorry, one of my roommates just needed something out of my pocket. So let's have a look at this first sentence of number 2. So can you say that sentence, please?
I'm sorry, I can't.
Very good. So you heard the pause of Alice saying, so you heard the pause after the word sorry. Very well done, Alice. Thank you. And so what that sentence is saying is, say your friend asks you to go to the movies with them on the weekend, but if you're already busy doing something else and you'd say it like that, I'm sorry, I can't. Because that pause separates the two parts of the sentence. So first the apology, and then the declining of the invitation. So very good. Timur, can you please read? Can you please read this second sentence? Although I'm not really seeing much of a difference here, so I'm gonna get rid of this one because that just means the same thing. That doesn't make sense. Oh my gosh. But this was one of the resources that I lost before that I just had to quickly try and duplicate. So Timur, can you please read this first sentence for number 3, please?
Yeah, the second sentence. I'm sorry, I can't.
No, sorry, not that one. The first sentence from number
Oh, yeah.
3, please.
He is cooking apple and pear in the kitchen.
Very good. So if we're saying she's cooking apples and pears in the kitchen, then what we're saying is both apples and pears are currently being cooked in the kitchen. Now, I'm going to call on Michael for this next one. Don't worry, there's no more family members to be eaten. So, Michael, can you please read number 2 here, please?
Be cooking apples and pears in the kitchen.
Very good. So with the pause placed after the word apples that time, we're saying she's cooking apples and the pears are in the kitchen. So we're talking about 2 separate things there, cooking apples and then the location of the pears. And when and this is all usually subconscious stuff. This is not something we would normally think about. So it's definitely going to, so if we start thinking about this stuff, we can really start controlling the meaning of our words. Tim's just asked, how can we cook apples? Have you ever had an apple pie before, Tim? Because whenever you have an apple pie or an apple strudel, then those pears, thinking about that sentence, those apples get stewed. So you mix it up with a little bit of hot water and some sugar, and then you stew it down until they get nice and soft and hot. You may be able to boil apples. I don't know how they would turn out, but I imagine you could. Boil them. Oh, bless. Okay. Yes, Rabbit, if you need to go charge your phone, that's fine. Now, yeah. Now, can I please have Tom? Can you read out this sentence here that I've highlighted?
Yes, teacher. She's cooking apples and pears in the kitchen.
Very good. So with this, with the pause being here after the word pears, so we're emphasizing the fact that she's cooking both apples and pears, the pause, and then we're letting them know that the cooking is happening in the kitchen. I just saw the first sentence for number 4. Mina, would you be kind enough to read the first sentence for number 4, please?
No, so pretend I was a Michael. Time to eat, children.
Very good. So you noticed that Mina had no pause there. So what Mina was actually saying to us, and we have it on video, is that Mina is inviting us to eat children. Now, if we move down to this second one here, Diana.
Yes.
Can you please read the sentence that I've just highlighted?
Okay. Time to eat, children.
Very good. So you notice the pause there that Diana is very nicely inviting the children to come and eat, whereas Mina was inviting us to just eat the children. So yeah, so by adding the pauses there, we can really change the meaning of of what we're saying. So very good reading, guys. Thank you. Okay, so the next thing that we need to talk about for vocal modulation. Oh goodness, I better read these chats. Min, I don't blame you for that. I don't blame you for that. Yep, you're right, Kelvin. Eat children and grandma. So we're going to be very full after that meal. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do, if I'm not reading that out, Andrew. So the next thing that we want to discuss is preparing our voice, or our vocal cords, our voice box. It's got a few different meanings to it. But first of all, we want to discuss the importance of vocal warm-ups. So have you ever noticed how sometimes if you go to play sport and you don't warm up properly, like you don't do your stretches, you don't move your joints around so that they get nice and lubricated and they're loose and you can use your body properly? Have you ever noticed if you don't do that, that you might get injured? You know, so like you might pull a muscle in your arm or in your leg, you might twist your ankle, something like that that hurts. So no, I'm not eating children, Sonny. How could you say that? So that's because you didn't warm your body up to prepare to do the exercise or the activities. And your voice box is the same. Your vocal cords are the same. So if you don't warm them up properly before speaking, then you can actually injure your voice box. Like, have you ever sung a song or screamed out loud that loudly that you all of a sudden lose your voice? Yeah, that's the same thing. That's you injuring your voice box. And so your voice won't work the same for a little while until it recovers. So it is very important to do vocal warm-ups, because it can give your vocal cords flexibility, and again, it can prevent you from straining it. And it can also actually help improve your articulation, so how you pronounce your words. It can help you with your breath control, and it can help you sound more clear when you speak. So what I'm going to do is, again, I am going to share a document here, and I'm going to get a few of you to read out some tongue twisters. I think we might have used a few of these before for the pronunciation class that I tried to do a little while ago. We used a few of these as your entry task. So, Tom, can you please read out the first tongue twister? Number 1.
Yes, she sells by the seashore. The shell she sells are surely seashells. It's kind of hard. So
It is very hard.
So if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shell.
Good try, Tom. Good try. So, as you heard there were there were a few little slip-ups, and that can come from one of two things. So either you're not used to putting your mouth in those different positions to pronounce the sounds that quickly. So you get a little bit slipped up. So instead of saying, she sells seashells by the seashore, you might get a little bit of, she sells seashells by the seashore. You might get it a bit mixed up if you're not confident with what position your mouth should be in to make those sounds. The other thing could be your vocal cords. So if your vocal cords are not properly warmed up, then that can affect how the sound comes out of your mouth. So practicing these tongue twisters like this, it can really help train your mouth to pronounce these sounds better. So let me have a go at number one, and then I'll get you guys to have a try at a few of them. So wish me luck, guys. Wish me luck. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells. So if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. That was quite hard, Tom. You were right. Okay. I'll call on Diana for this next one. Can you please read out number 2?
How can a climb a clean cream can?
Almost. Good try. So how can a clam cram in a clean cream can? So when you pronounce these tongue twisters, it's very important for you to really over enunciate with your mouth. So don't just, she sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells. That's actually getting easier the more I say it. But really, really overdo, exaggerate your mouth position. So she sells seashells by the seashore. Only do that for your warm up though, because you look like you're crazy if you do that during a speech. But by doing that, you're warming your mouth up and getting it ready to speak. Okay, Sarah. Can you please read out number 3?
Okay. Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear. Fuzzy Wuzzy has no hair. Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't very fuzzy, was he?
Very good, Sarah. Very good. Okay, Lily. Hello, Lily. Can you please read out number 4 for me?
Okay. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. How many pickled pepper did Peter Piper pick?
Very good. The one thing that I'll correct you on there is that it's a hard long E, so Peter. But other than that, your pronunciation was excellent. Very well done. Okay, Alice, can I get you to read number 5, please?
Okay.
Red,
Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry.
Okay, very good. So did you hear, Alice, when you were pronouncing that, there were a few of the consonant sounds that started to not be pronounced. So we really want to focus on correct pronunciation with these. So red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry. And so with these tongue twisters, guys, don't just try and go into it like Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear, Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. Because you hear the faster you say it, the less you're able to understand it. So pronounce it really slow at the beginning and build up your speed. And then if you do it that way, you'll be able to pronounce them extremely fast by the end of your practice. Luna, can I get you to read number 6, please?
6 slippery snails slid slowly seaward.
Show off. Very good, Luna. Very good. Okay, Alice from Ho Chi Minh. Hello, Alice.
hi.
So can you please read number 7 for me?
Unique New York, unique New York. You know you need unique New York.
Good correction in the end there, but yes, very good. So we see there that even when we say it slowly, sometimes the sounds that we make with our mouths can, we can get our mouths all confused with the positions they need to be in to make the sounds. So, yes, but very good work, guys. Those of you that got to read a tongue twister. So let's get back to the slideshow. So we've discussed the benefits of vocal warm-ups. And there are other vocal warm-up exercises out there to get your voice and get your mouth ready to speak. So it would pay you well to look them up. Well, I have been reading English for 33 years, Sunny, but if you were to give me something to read in Vietnamese, I would absolutely butcher the language. In fact, every time I try to say something in Vietnamese to Ms. Duc, she looks at me like I'm crazy. She just cannot understand me because I'm that bad. So that's more familiarity than anything. Okay. The next topic is breathing for clarity. So we are going to talk about some deep breathing exercises. Oh my God, Michael, I'm not reading that out. So, breathing exercises are very important. And firstly, I would like to explain why. So, controlled breathing supports your vocal delivery by providing the right amount of air needed for speaking. This prevents things like running out of breath. It can help you to maintain a steady pace, and it can enhance the clarity of your words. So if I take a big deep breath in, and then I go to speak, because my lungs are more filled with air, I can talk for longer. I can give you more facts, more information. To be honest, at this point, I'm just rambling to show you how long that I can maintain this pace without needing to breathe again. However, if I'm only taking a shallow breath, and sometimes people can do this because of nerves. So if you're really nervous about something, you tend to take shorter, shallower breaths. And what that can tend to do is people will start speaking a lot faster because they want to make sure that they finish the sentence before they need to take another breath. So example, it might be, I'll take a short, shallow breath. And because I'm using the air in my lungs to push the words out of my mouth, as my lungs get less and less air in them, I start to talk quicker so I can finish the sentence. So I can take another breath. And that tends to happen quite a bit. Try to break that habit. It's horrible. One, it sounds really bad. Oh, Sunny, I do not know how to speak Vietnamese, not at all. Not at all. If you guys, at the end of the lesson, actually, no, I'll pick a few sentences myself to translate and say, because I don't trust you guys to not make me say something naughty if I let you pick the sentences I say. So the next thing I would like to do is I'll say a couple at the end of the lesson, but yeah, so oh goodness. So I want to give you guys some breathing exercises, and this can help you again. This can encourage your body to take deeper breaths so you don't, again, run out of breath and have to talk really fast to try and finish the sentence to catch your next breath. Potentially, Alice, I'm not saying no. So, this first exercise is called deep diaphragmatic breathing. I'll write that in the chat box because that's a big crazy word. No, Kevin, I cannot speak French. I can speak a little bit of Russian. Good question, Diana. I don't want to speak quicker because I want to give you the opportunity to take in the information that I'm giving you. Whereas if I was just to talk really, really quickly and then move on to something else, you wouldn't really have a time to digest it because by the time you thought about it, I'm on to something else. Now we're going to talk about the fact that I got green liquid in this bottle and hey, look at that, here's a computer mouse. You'll lose track of what I'm talking about really quickly if I speak fast. So this first exercise, I'll show you a couple of them. Hey, Kevin speaking. Oh no, wait, that's Spanish, isn't it? Tu es Michael. So this first exercise, deep diaphragmatic breathing. And the reason and that G is silent. So it's not diaphragmatic, it's diaphragmatic. And I missed a letter R in there, in between the H and the A. So when we breathe, we don't actually want to fill our lungs. We want to fill our diaphragm, which is like this weird, I don't even know how to describe it properly. So I'm just kind of going to describe it how I remember it. It's basically like, it's almost like this sac that your lungs are encased in. So if your lungs are, say, here, your diaphragm comes down to about here. So it's kind of like this weird little sac or this little chamber that your lungs live in. So when you breathe in, you don't want to fill your lungs. You want to fill the diaphragm. So, and then the air in the diaphragm will supply air to the lungs. Yeah, correct, Min. It's like a small muscle that's under the lungs. It kind of creates like a little sac or a chamber for your lungs to live in. So what I want everybody to do, just to try this exercise, if you're sitting down in a chair, which I assume most of you are, I want you to sit up in a nice comfortable position, no slouching down like this. I want you all to sit up. So first thing I want you to do, doesn't matter which hand, but I want you to place one hand on your chest and the other hand on your abdomen. So not quite where your belly button is, just slightly above it. So one hand will be above the other, but not so far down as your belly button. So now what I want you to do is inhale slowly through your nose. So breathe in through your nose, not your mouth. By the way, that's another important tip. Try to avoid breathing through your mouth as much as possible. Because when you breathe in through your nose, the way the air travels through your nose actually prepares it better to go into your lungs, because the hairs in your nose and all that sort of stuff, it takes all of the harmful things in the air out of it. That's why you get boogies in your nose. The boogies in your nose is all the gross stuff that your nose takes out of the air before it goes into your lungs. So from here, what I want you to do is I want you to inhale slowly through your nose. And when you breathe in, and I'll turn side on, I don't want to see your chest expanding like this. I want to say, your chest shouldn't expand. Your chest should actually stay pretty still, but you should feel the hand that's on your diaphragm or on your abdomen. You should feel that expanding with your breath. So like this. So see how the hand that's on my diaphragm, that expands, but the hand on my chest stays pretty still. So like this. It's not a whole lot of movement, but you can see that it's the hand on the abdomen that moves. So breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And you want to repeat that type of breathing for several breaths. And that's just going to really help you fill up with air. And you'll actually notice that breathing will start to feel different. It'll actually start to feel better if you breathe that way. Stella, you're welcome to leave whenever you want. So let me try and do this again. So hopefully you can see my hand here. So you'll notice I'll try and get this elbow out of the way, but when I breathe, actually I'll do a little bit lower. So it's still not on my belly button, but see how much this hand moved from its original position? Then I breathe out through my mouth and it sinks back to where it was. So that's how you know you're breathing through your diaphragm. And if you can train your make sure you use your Andrew's out of breath. Well, it's something that you need to practice, Kelvin. And that's why I'm suggesting you put your hands one on your chest and one on your abdomen, so that if you can feel the correct hand is moving, you know you're breathing through your diaphragm correctly. Well, then stay in the class, Stella. Okay. So that's diaphragmatic breathing. That's number one. Now, the other type of diaphragmatic, or the other type of breathing exercise I'll show you, and there are lots of different exercises, but all of this is really good to control your breath. So this one is called 4-7-8 breathing. Eminem's asking where his lungs. Oh my gosh. So this one is called 4-7-8 breathing. So the first thing we want to do is we want to sit up straight with our eyes closed. Mina's heard of this one, so she'll know, she'll know about it. So the first thing we want to do, sit up nice and tall. Don't close your eyes just yet. Wait for the demonstration, then give it a try. So when we do this, we're sitting up straight with our eyes closed. The eyes closed, I imagine, is just for relaxation, but not yet. So what we want to do is we want to inhale quietly through our nose for a count of 4. So if I'm breathing in, I'd go. So that's step 1. I breathe in through the count of 4. I just count to 4 in my head. Then what I want to do, I want to hold my breath for the count of 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's my breath in. Hold it for 7. So 1. And then after I've held it in for a count of 7, I want to exhale completely through my mouth for a count of 8. But when I breathe out, don't just keep it silent. Like, I want to actually make like a whooshing noise with it. And I want to do that to the count of 8. Now, the secret to that exercise is to make sure that you keep all of your counts the same speed. So I'm not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of my counts have to be the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you've noticed that I've tried to keep all of those numbers close together. So if we do this and control our breathing, 1, it'll just make you a more healthy breather. And number 2, it will help your public speaking, your speaking in general incredibly well. So again, there are lots of other breathing exercises, but I will leave it up to you to find those and give them a try. Okay. Oh, I am very unflexible. I would make a terrible yoga teacher. I'd get into a pose and I'd just fall over. I do not know what you are talking about, Mina. Who's Magra at 14? Good, Andrew. Your lungs are like a balloon. Who's Magra at 14? But very good, Andrew. So you want to be filling your lungs up as much as possible. Okay, so we will skip the vocal warm-up exercise because we've been through some of those, like the tongue twisters and the breathing. So we've seen those already. We've had a go at them. I might have to look them up then. So let's go back and have a look at, so let's talk about the breathing exercises that we just did and the tongue twisters. So whether you got to say a tongue twister on the microphone or whether you just had a go at saying it to yourself while we were doing it, and the breathing exercises. Who would like to describe to the class how it felt or what they noticed about their lungs or their mouths as they were doing these exercises? Alice, did you have any insights to provide the class?
Well, I think I couldn't hold my breath long enough for 7 seconds.
Well, then if you keep practicing that, you will eventually get to the stage where you can, because your lungs are actually quite elastic. So the more you use them, the deeper your breath gets, the more stretched out they'll be and the more oxygen you'll be able to take in. Obviously, there's a limit to that. Like, you're not going to be able to take in enough oxygen to hold your breath for 25 minutes ever. But you'll train your lungs to take bigger and bigger breaths over time. So keep practicing, but good thing that you noticed that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Quiana, am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Excellent. So what did you notice about either your breath or your mouth while you were doing these exercises?
So first with the warm up, like usually I don't do warm up. Yeah. So whenever I do some speech like that, I always hesitate. Yeah, that's the thing. And I try to speak fast so that I can finish. Yeah. So then I realized that no, it won't improve my pronunciation or my speaking skill. Yeah. So tongue twist would be like the best way for us to learn. Like your mouth will be like stressed out and you can pronounce the word correctly. Yeah. So
correct.
Yeah, I think I felt a good way from you. Yeah, thank you for sharing, by the way. And
very good. You're very welcome.
Yeah. Also about the breathing practice, I think that like I don't know why, but whenever I try to exhale, I just yawn. Like I want to sleep or something. I don't know why. Yeah, but like practice breathing. Yeah, it's good for our health. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much, Quiana. Okay, I just got a message from Sunny as well. So also, if you would like to send anything that you noticed about your mouth or your breath during these exercises, anything you noticed at all, you can send it in the chat box and I'll read them out as I get them. Irish, what did you notice about your breath or your mouth during these exercises?
It's very suitable for me because I always speak English. I am having a very big challenge from my family that I am going to take part in a challenge that is 120 days. Usually always speaking English every day. So I think practice my voice and my breath is very suitable, and it is very important, not for me, but not only for me, but also for everybody, for the people are speaking English usually, like the public speaker. Yeah. And
Very
so,
good.
yeah, thanks for sharing with me the tips like that. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Irish. And actually, Irish mentioned an interesting point about the pronunciation. And that's why exercises like tongue twisters, or even just picking random words and trying to learn to pronounce them correctly can be such a valuable warm-up skill. You have to forgive me, it's getting to be about 20 past 11 over here. But yeah, the reason that can be so important is because, as you no doubt know, different languages can have the same letters in them, but they can pronounce those letters or those sounds completely differently. So I'll use Russian as an example. So in Russian, the letter A is always pronounced A. So whereas in English, we can pronounce it as A, we can pronounce it as A, we can pronounce it as A. There are lots of different ways, but the Russians would always train just learn to say A. So when they learn to speak English, you hear them saying words like athletic and they'll go athletic, because they haven't trained themselves to pronounce that letter in the other ways. So yeah, really practicing your pronunciation skills. It's not just actually about teaching your brain to know what those sounds should sound like. It's actually about teaching your mouth and your throat and your vocal cords the positions to pronounce those sounds correctly. And it's just something, again, I find very interesting. Okay. Andrew.
Okay, so my experience when I breathe in is I saw that when I breathe in my mouth can be dry over time and I can't speak very well. But when I inhale with my nose, my mouth won't be dry. And I noticed that if I suck my belly out a little bit, I can hold my breath a longer time. And
Very
this
good.
helps.
Very good, Andrew. Thank you. Okay, so we have time for one more person to give us their insights into this. So Kevin, let's hear from you. We haven't heard from you tonight. Can't hear you, Kevin. It looks like you're unmuted, but when you talk, I can't hear you. Okay, I'll try someone else then. Sunny, what's something that you noticed?
Can you hear
Oh,
me now? Can you
was
hear
that
me?
you, Kevin? I
Yeah.
can now. Hang on a second. So Sunny, I'll come back to you after Kevin. Kevin, so what's something that you noticed about doing those vocal exercises and those warm-ups?
Well, when I tried breathing by the mouth, I feel like I was breathing in dry sand, and it makes my mouth feel a little dry.
Yep.
When I try to breathe by nose, I feel like my mouth is not dry at all. I'm breathing normal, and that felt good more than breathing by mouth.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin. That's excellent. And so, yeah, just one more thing before I call on Sunny, but things like that, like learning these new skills, while we're talking about it now, yes, it's going to be easy to think about it and fill the diaphragm and in through the nose, out through the mouth. But if it's not what you regularly do, the second you go off to think about something else, you're going to forget this and start going back to your old way of doing it. So if these are skills you would genuinely like to improve and get better with and get to enjoy the benefits of, make sure that you do continue to practice these things after the lesson. So it's going to take more than just like 10, 20 minutes now. So just thought I would share that with you. And Sunny, what's something that you noticed during these warm-up exercises?
When I breathe with nose, I feel more easier than breathe than with mouth.
Very
Because
good.
when I breathe with nose, the oxygen should go to my body easier. But
Very
I breathe
good.
in mouth, it's difficult to go.
That's right. Oh, goodness. It is getting late. But yeah, so as Sunny said, very good, Sunny, thank you. So the way the oxygen travels through your nose, down through the back of your head, however it gets there, down into your lungs, you're able to fill up your diaphragm with less stress than you are if you breathe through your mouth. So if I go, I feel very full of air right now. If I try and breathe in through my mouth, I can feel a lot more like my shoulders and like my upper chest and my lungs get involved with it more. So it kind of stretches me out a bit more. I don't know why it just does. That could be a weird thing with my body. That could happen to everybody else as well. But I've just noticed that. Yeah, I've just noticed that. Yeah, when I breathe in through my nose, I'm able to fill my diaphragm easier. Okay. So let's go over all of these concepts that we've covered tonight. So, okay, so I'm going to try and call on people that haven't had a chance to speak this evening. So I'll start with Ruby. What is something that you have learned tonight?
I think I've learned how to speak and how to breathe in the speech.
Very good. So we've made some new connections for you between how to breathe while you're speaking. Very good. Peter from Hanoi. What's something that you've learned tonight?
What? Something you want to know?
Well, what is something that you have learned tonight?
Tonight I will learn. I learn with you.
Very good. I just got a very interesting message from Andrew. He said his nose hair can stop dust from entering his lungs, and that's why we have boogies in our nose. Very good, Andrew. Very good. Okay. Goodness. All right, I'm just going to ask a few people some questions. What is what is pitch in terms of vocal modulation? What is pitch? Alice.
Well, I think pitch is like when we raise the voice or when we lower our voice.
Very good. So pitch, yeah, so pitch is when we raise or lower the tone in our voice. So we can use it to ask a question, or we can use it to sound serious and make a statement. Very good. Somebody tell me. Sunny, let's ask Sunny. What is volume?
What is what?
What is volume?
Volume.
Yep. What is volume?
Volume are bodies.
Pardon?
My thing is.
Yes.
I'm
So,
not sure.
so tell us, what is volume? Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm outing on the group.
That's all right. Andrew, stop answering questions I haven't even asked yet. Lily, can you tell me, please, what is volume?
I think volume.
Okay, let's try Rabbit from Da Nang. What is volume?
Volume is like when we speak in a high voice and a low voice. That is called a volume. If you want to talk in a loud or a high or a low voice.
Very good. So volume is how loud or quiet we talk. Whether we talk in a high voice like this or a low voice like this, that's pitch. But you're correct with how loud or how quiet you are. And finally, or my next question, what is pacing? What is pacing? Yeah, and Andrew's going to explode if I don't let him answer this question, I think. Andrew, what is pacing?
Pacing is the speed of our speech and voice.
Very good. So pacing is the speed or the rhythm of our speech and our voice. Very good. Okay, so I'll post the specific details in the class Zalo group after class. But this evening, or for the next week, your homework is going to be to prepare a short speech and make sure you use deliberate emphasis, pauses, and vocal modulation. And I really want you guys to have fun and experiment with this homework, okay? So don't, no, Michael, you may not. You may not talk about that. So like I was saying, really experiment with these new skills. You can be serious if you want, you can be funny in your speech, and depending on what tone you want to set, so if you're being serious, happy, sad, angry, funny, whatever you want to do with your speech, that will affect how you use this vocal modulation. So really have fun and explore this. Oh, goodness. Yeah. You get to pick the topic, Ben, but you better make sure that it's a topic that's not inappropriate. So, so you get to pick your topic, but so for example, a very bad example of a speech to talk about that you should absolutely not talk about is 9/11. Yeah. Perhaps not necessarily just the tongue twister, Ruby, but you could talk about the history of tongue twisters. No one's talking about September 11th. No one is going to do a speech on that. Perhaps not best discussed. It was a terrorist attack in 2001. A couple of planes flew into the World Trade Center in America. Yeah, a teacher's childhood. You need to know about my childhood to be able to talk about that. Goodness. But yes, you can pick the topic of of your speech, but please, of course, please keep it appropriate for the class. So, you know, no talking about like murder, death, or drugs or anything like that. Talk about things that are more appropriate for the class. Just keep in mind, everybody that sends one, everybody in the group can see anything that's sent. So again, keep it appropriate. Okay, so your next lesson next week is going to be on facial expressions. So goodness, we're probably going to end up pulling a lot of funny faces next week. So yeah, we're just going to have a play with our faces, see what sorts of emotions and feelings and messages we can tell everybody using our faces. So this is not your body language anymore. This is not your vocal modulation anymore. This is how you use your face. So whether you try and look normal, whether you try and smile for your speech, or whether you just want to throw one of those, we're going to learn about that stuff next week. So thank you all very much for your continued commitment, enthusiasm, and participation in these lessons. If you keep learning and keep studying this stuff, I promise you'll become an incredible speaker, both in your one-on-one interactions with your family and friends, and whenever you take to the stage to give a big speech. Michael, no, you cannot talk about that. So again, thank you very much for your attention tonight, guys. You've done fantastic. And a reminder about the homework. Please check the class Zalo group for details about this week's homework task. Good luck, and I will see you all next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night and goodbye.
You're very welcome. Yes, Sarah, I am quite sleepy. I'll be going to bed soon. Yes,
Bye.
class is finished, guys. Good night, everyone.
Goodbye,
Class
teacher.
is finished.
Bye, teacher.
Bye.
teacher.
Bye-bye.
Teacher.
Good night. Goodbye. Yep, you are free to go. Good night, Sunny.
What is homework, teacher Michael?
I'm going to post it in the Zalo group like I always do. I've just given them a quick description of it now, but I'll post it to the Zalo group.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. Good.